So, I mean, we've spoken about it in the past a lot, that working in restaurants in Miami in the summer is terrible. Very simply because you have a huge decrease in the quality and quantity of guests. So it's terrible. Somewhere along the line, some entrepreneurial server or, bartender was like, we got to solve this problem. So what do? I don't know when they found out, but they found out that working in the Hamptons in New York in the summer can really bridge that gap between all the money you lose in the summer here in Miami. So, I mean, I've never done it personally, so I have no personal experience to talk of, in the Hamptons, but we all working in Miami have met a lot of people who have done it. So in research to talk about some of this stuff, I, found some articles, and the least nauseating one I found was about this guy named Ed. And then he goes on to say something like, they would start off as strangers when they moved into these houses together. But because they were serving some of the world's wealthiest people, and they had very small bedrooms with even smaller bathrooms, and they had to deal with stuff like noisy next door neighbors who kept roosters and 3 feral dogs chained to a tree in the backyard, that they would form bonds together, right? Ed, again, describes his experiences in the Hamptons as a combination between the real world and Survivor. Now, I would love for this conversation to prove or debunk some of the shit that I've read. So, Adrian, start it up.
Welcome to the Fancy Bread Podcast, where we talk all things restaurants. I'm one of your hosts, Adrian.
I'm your other host, Ed.
Hey, today we're talking about the lifestyle of the rich and the famous. Working in the Hamptons. Yes, we had this previous episode where we spoke about the low season, as Ed already mentioned. And one of the things that we mentioned is that people can go somewhere else and work during those seasons. Now, we found this 2 lovely people here. Thank you for joining us today. We have Jeremy and Sarah.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Who are veterans of working in Hamptons. One of them just actually finished working the season there, and one of them has worked for various years before.
Very many years.
Jeremy, Sarah, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys for having us.
Now, as is customary of the show, please introduce yourselves. Let us know how long you've been in the industry, where did you start it, and what are you currently doing?
Sarah?
All right, my name is Sarah, and I've been in the industry for about 15 years, I would say. If you count the years in Italy, before I moved to New York about 11 years ago. I've been out in the Hamptons for 8 seasons now.
Shit.
Yeah. That's
in a row?
Time. In a row.
Damn.
I mean, if you don't count the COVID years that we didn't open.
Of course.
But, so it would be 7 seasons, not 8.
And what are you currently doing now?
Now I'm a head bartender.
Got it. Jeremy?
So, moved 2009 in New York, where I worked for 10 years in hospitality. I worked for many different restaurant groups, all kind of positions. I served, I bartended, I managed, I did a little bit of, I was a banquet captain for a while as well. And then I found Hamptons, and I did 7 straight seasons in a row, knowing that a season is, for me, that used to go first on the island and leave last, it was 5 months. 5 months a year for 7 years in a row. And now in Miami for 4 years, where I'm pre-retiring.
All right. And you currently are?
And I'm currently a server in a restaurant in Miami.
Very well.
Year long now.
Year long.
Yeah.
So you're not going to the Hamptons anymore?
No. It's the same thing in New York. 10 years in New York is a long time. 7 years in the Hamptons, it's double life. You count almost dog years for the
I
Hamptons.
was about to say.
So it's almost 70 years.
I was about to say.
Like,
10 years in New York feels like 11 years.
Yeah.
7 years in the Hamptons?
It feels like 2 years in one,
Yeah.
because you have the season and the off season.
Now, to anyone
to
out
it.
there, why would you want to work in the Hamptons?
Honestly, for me, so Ed mentioned Miami being slow in the summer.
It's terrible.
I think New York was even worse in the summer. July, August in New York was absolutely terrible because not only it's dead, but the heat was absolutely unbearable. Here, at least you have the sea. You have the, So somebody offers you to go work, especially where we worked on a beautiful island, when a beach that's a restaurant that's literally on the beach where you walk on sand. Okay, then we'll talk about housing and everything after. But I'm saying for me it was the best thing ever. It was like, I'm not going to suffer of the heat of the summer. I'm going to make great money, and I'm going to be able to jump in the water every half an hour almost.
Yeah, it was the same for me. Like, it was definitely for the money, but also for the lifestyle.
Okay.
Because I love the ocean. I come from a small town on the Mediterranean Sea, and when they offer me that, it's something that you crave after many years in New York, to see the stars again, to see the ocean, to be able to jump in the ocean on your break, to not have to commute 45 minutes to get to work. It's like literally 2 minutes.
That's a good point. You can't
Yeah.
really see the stars in a lot of cities. In
No, there
in
you can. Now also we have in summertime. There's in August. There's those how they call those algae that lights up in the water
Oh, yeah,
when you move them.
Yeah.
Phytoplankton, but it's like the one that makes like some
Luminescence.
crazy
Luminescence.
Exactly.
Yeah. Bioluminescence.
That's
Yes,
unbelievable.
that's
You
the-
swim and then around you have
I watch a lot
bioluminescence
of
all over the place.
I watch a lot of
That's
Animal Planet.
Crazy.
Bioluminescence. Yeah.
I didn't know they had that in Hamptons.
But the funny thing is, like, so
That
I
was in
never
Puerto
went really
Rico.
for the money first. I really went. For me, I never. When I grew up, I never went to a summer camp in my life. I never left my family. I never left my parents. All vacations were with the family, and so for me, it was first year when I was like, "This is summer camp for adults. This is really what it is. You're
It
gonna
is
work a little
really.
bit, but you're gonna play a lot. You know,
Yeah.
it's really what it is. It's,
Work a lot, but
Now,
play a lot.
when does the season start and when does it end?
The real season is from Memorial Day to Labor Day, but you go a little bit in advance so you can open the restaurant. Bear in mind that most of the restaurants over there they close in the winter. And when you say they close, like at the end of the season, you turn off everything. Like you remove everything, the awnings. It's like a ghost town pretty much
Yeah.
in winter time. So you go a little bit in advance. Secure a beautiful place to sleep. I got lucky. We'll go back to it, but I got very lucky with my lodging. But if you come late in the season, you get
If you don't know
jail.
anybody.
You get a jail cell
Yeah.
to
And if you
sleep
don't
for
know
the rest of the
anybody,
season.
though.
Exactly.
Because if you do know somebody, it's like, hey, Jeremy, please secure me, like the best room or something.
So
But
are
yes,
these
it's
restaurants
4.5
like mega
months.
pop-ups? Even the kitchens are built and everything?
Yeah. When
Yeah.
they clean everything, it's
No.
bananas. Like they leave like some of but most of the things is really put back in storage.
And
So
are
if-
these like known chefs, like celebrities or?
we have like chef that follows us through the seasons, but for example, we have this famous oyster guy that comes every season.
Bobby from Chiltern Firehouse in London.
So we got some pop-ups of food-wise sometimes, but mostly the same staff kitchen-wise.
Okay.
So when you drive past restaurants in the winter in the Hamptons,
it's a block of wood.
you
There's no
see,
railing.
you see just the stove.
Yeah,
In the middle is
exactly.
just the stove.
There will be a stove.
A stove and maybe some banquettes.
Exactly.
I think it's different from one place to another, but like
Yeah.
us, that we are right on the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But there's a lot of different areas in the Hamptons too.
Yeah.
So what's like the expensive area? Where's like the bougie part of the Hamptons? Because you're talking about the Hamptons, it's all bougie, but there's some parts that are more basic than others. Where's the bougie part of the Hamptons?
I would say like it's funny. The Hamptons. So if you look at Long Island, the Hamptons is the end of Long Island.
Yeah.
Long Island separates in two forks. You have North Fork and South Fork.
Mm-hmm.
North Fork, it's more fishermen, a little bit more
Blue collar.
Exactly. It's a Greenport, and then at the end you have Orient Point. It's nice. It's affordable. You have some farms. You have some vineyards. Then South Branch is where you have the fancy place. I would say right now the fanciest place is probably Sag Harbor. That was not back in the time was Bridgehampton, Southampton, but that Sag Harbor has some of the most expensive restaurants. Very fancy city, just on the other side of the ferry from our island. And then at the end of the Hamptons, you have Montauk, which is a whole different thing. Montauk is a surfing vibe, young kids,
Attracts a lot of young
clubs,
people.
bars. You can go and get wasted for 2 days and come back, where the people like behave a little bit more, But yeah, Southampton, Bridgehampton would be the bougie place with
Yeah.
Sag Harbor.
Where was your restaurant?
Shelter Island.
Which technically is funny. It's not the Hamptons.
Yeah, it's
It's
Shelter
not that-
Island, really.
So what the hell are you doing here? Why are we making on the show? Hey, you heard this shit? They didn't even work in the Hamptons, bro.
No, it is the Hamptons.
It is the Hamptons.
Shelter Island or Shutter Island?
Shelter.
Shelter.
So there's a lot of
Shutter
people
Island
that
is
make a
scary.
mistake.
That's scary.
Shelter Island can be too. But why Shelter Island? It's called Shelter Island because it's absolutely sheltered. It's an island in the middle of between
Okay.
the two forks. So
I see.
it looks like a lake most of the time.
It's like
There's
an
no waves,
archipelago.
really. There's no tide. It's like it's very exclusive because the only way to go is with the ferry or the seaplane or helicopters.
Yeah.
So nobody comes on that island by coincidence. It's not a place you're going to drive. Oh, I ended up in
It's a
Shelter
destination.
Island.
It's a destination
Exactly.
place.
It's always been a destination, and it's an end destination too. Let's go to Shelter Island this weekend. They're not going to go anywhere else. They're going to stay on the island and do everything on there.
So it's even more exclusive.
It's more exclusive than any other place I think in the Hamptons.
It's like Uber destination. It's not like you drive there.
It's Uber destination.
Uber.
Uber destination.
You have to say to yourself, I'm going and I'm planning to stay there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We
But,
have a lot of.
it's also you're not going to go thinking, oh, we're going to find a place. No, you have the place to stay before you go there because there's only 4 hotels, I think, and then it's probably super expensive, and in the seasons they're all booked.
Would you happen to have an idea around how many people does the Hamptons employ just for summer?
The Hamptons, or
Hamptons in general. Ooh, that's
it's
I
very
don't
difficult
know.
because it's.
Yeah.
I want to say this maybe 4,000 restaurants in the Hamptons in total. Count 20 per.
And there is more too. Since
Yeah.
you stop coming, there is way
Yeah,
more
it's,
restaurant opening.
So
up
it's a
every
lot of
year.
opportunities for working in the
Yeah,
Hamptons.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Different money, different conditions of work, different lodging, different transportation, but you can work there. If you want to go work there, you can work there.
Well, I didn't get the base amount of people that usually live in the Hamptons, but for summer, between 114 to 140,000 residents are usually around there for summer. So imagine that for every of those, there has to be about half at least of staff. So it's a lot of opportunities to work in the Hamptons.
I mean, how many do the place we work for employed? Like at least 100
Our place,
people,
100 plus, yeah.
Yeah, 100
so,
plus.
And ours is like a big restaurant, so
On the
I would
island
say
itself, there's
100
probably
plus.
like 100, and you count, the other restaurant. Maybe there's like at least 400 people working on the island on hospitality. And it's a small island. Bear in mind, you can take a bicycle and do around the island in like an hour and a half, I would say.
Well, for what
Shelter
I got,
Island.
the Hamptons is a
Not
region
Shutter.
in the eastern end of Long Island, New York, covering approximately 1,200 square miles, and encompasses several villages and hamlets. But over there, what's very interesting is that the average home just hit $3 million.
Yeah.
The average home, and usually around summer, a typical 3-bedroom house can rent from $60,000 to $100,000, and some, obviously, the mega mansions can rent for about $1 million per month.
wow.
All right, so
Sounds about
anyone
right.
Someone's renting that shit.
so the
Yeah.
people that are up there, they got the money.
They
Yeah.
got the money.
They definitely have it.
They got the money. So our restaurant is pretty fancy, expensive, and they treat it like their cantina. We have the people coming every day, like they're having lunch
Yeah.
every day. It's going to be like $600-700 lunch, really done, but every day, and then maybe 4 times a week for dinner. Because again, being an island, they don't want to leave the island so much. So you stay on the island and you go to us because we're probably the best place. We are the best place of the island when it comes to food and atmosphere and party atmosphere. But people they have a house up the hill and then they come here and spend every week. That's 3-4K, just for lunch.
No big deal.
It's crazy.
Chump
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
Nothing. Light little lunch.
You got it?
Oh yeah, we
Throw
go
it
on the
out.
other side too. Like,
Yeah.
please,
So-
come back tomorrow.
How do I apply? Where do I go? Because right now we're putting out this around December, so we're giving you plenty of time for you to check it out, go online and get ready because, as you know, the season starts around May.
Yeah.
So you got plenty of time to look it up. Where do I apply?
I would say you have to start early. So February is a good time. You should do some of your research first of all, where you want to work or not. Then I would try to reach out to the restaurant and try to find out who's the general manager is. Although it might not be easy because it's a seasonal spot.
Right.
So there might be turnover every year. So that's not super easy. I honestly want to say that having connection really would help.
There we
a
go.
lot.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not.
So know someone
at least
who
it's
worked
my
the last
experience.
year and-
Exactly.
Yeah.
Find out somebody that worked there that can get you in touch with somebody
Yeah.
else.
I don't know, but your DMs are going to be full after this.
Honestly, it doesn't sound like it's
If they're not already full.
too difficult of a thing because like I said, I've never done it. And I'll tell you a story about how I interviewed one year. I didn't go, but I've met a ton of people who work in the Hamptons, a ton of people. So if you're working in Miami, in New York especially probably, but in Miami, it's like in any service industry, like we are a very small bubble. Even if you would live in a big city relatively, the service industry in that city is tiny.
Totally.
That's why they say don't ever fuck anybody over. Because if you get blackballed, meaning you have a very bad reputation in this industry, it's going to follow you forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's forever. Like any of us can attest that we've gotten a lot of our jobs because we know somebody who works there. When's the last time you interviewed traditionally at a restaurant? Like you walk in with a resume and you meet a manager you've never seen. You go, we don't do that anymore. Like you don't. You go because someone talks to the GM is like, listen, you want this guy, you want this girl.
Yeah.
And then the GM or the AGM reaches out to you. Oh, I heard such and such. Come in, come talk to me.
Yeah.
But
Better
we
be the same way.
I'm trying to
Completely.
think.
Meet and
Like,
greets.
if I work for, let's say, I want to say between 15 to 20 restaurants in my career, I don't think I ever walked in with my resume in any of them. I think it's all
Yeah.
this guy I know, he's hiring,
funny.
go see him. Or
Yeah.
the Hamptons, I got brought by the GM who's now the GM, who's not at the time, but who is
Yeah.
now the GM, who knew at that time I didn't have a job. So it's like, yeah, it's really like, it's mostly by connections, even more probably in the Hamptons than in the regular place.
Probably.
But it is though.
Now,
I feel
I know-
like I haven't interviewed properly like in more than 11 years, and I actually went to my first interview last week.
It was probably strange.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I was like kind of nervous, I went there with my resume and everything. I was like, I haven't done this in a long time. The interview went well, we chit chat, and then at the end, they look at my resume and say, wait a second, I seen this exact resume. So somebody sent it to them like already. So you know, it comes like to
Right.
At the end of the day, it comes to like who you know and
Of course.
you know, connections.
And then we bring people, you know, if you do a couple seasons in a row, then they trust your quality of course, of work and everything, but also of who you're going to bring. Because as always, when you bring somebody, you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot. You want to bring the best of the best because it's going to be on you.
Or in the leg.
For the season, I think I brought like maybe 4 or 5 people that are still there. And vice versa, everybody brings their friends if they're good, you know, so.
Now I will ask, because there's kind of a bit of a trend there. A lot of people that I know who are from Europe, if you ask them, they've been to the Hamptons.
Yeah.
They worked the season there.
Oh, yeah.
It's very common.
Listen, I think I worked season when there was not one American in the restaurant.
But it's very rare that if I meet an American or sometimes Latinos, they're like, no, I've never done that. But Europeans, it's like, I did a season there, or I know someone that did a season there.
I think there was a reason to that too, because
look at your face. You were like, you've been thinking about it.
Trying to think.
You're thinking about that.
Well, what I think in my experience is that it's a seasonal job. So it comes with a lot of perks, but at the end of the day, every other season, when the season ends, you're going to go and start all over again.
Yeah.
And find a job. So a lot of people are not willing to do that. A lot of Americans or Latino, they have families, you know, they have bills, their house, whatever, and they don't want to do that. Us, we're like a little bit more gypsy.
A lot of Irish kids coming and they go back in Ireland for the winter. They come only for.
I read that.
A lot of East European
So
kids.
if you're not, So the point. So if you're not comfortable with making those changes, this is. Not
I read that. I read that there's like a gang of Irish kids who like work as like bus boys.
They're great.
Yeah,
they're
buses.
great. They're so nice. I
And the
love
great
them.
thing I read about them is that
They get
a lot of
trashed,
them will
though.
work as like support. And then they'll have their own places where they go and they make fun of the servers who are like they consider like pansies, like pris, like they make fun of this. That's what I heard. That's what I read.
Fun of me.
Mind you, first I read this. I read it.
All my Irish kids, if you're making fun of me, I will find out.
That's what I read.
So the two of you got there because someone else brought you in or someone referred you. That was kind of like the idea. But was there any particular part of the process, like the interview that you've seen that other people have failed at, that maybe you would suggest to them?
So
like,
my first
you
season
may want to
was-
say this, you may not want to say that.
Yeah.
What are some of the do's, the pros, the do's and don'ts for someone who's trying to get this job?
Situation is different because I got thrown in the thing right away. By the end, my first season, I only worked the last 3 weeks to a month of the season. I came to replace somebody that broke, I think, her leg or something like this. So he's like, I really need you to come. And I went. I had no interview, no training, no nothing. I came at night. He showed me the restaurant. He's like, this is where you're going to work. I put a white shirt. I went straight. I'm good enough that I could do that, honestly. But I put a white shirt and I went straight to the hotel, look at the menu. Okay, this is what we're doing. And boom. And that was my first experience. No, I didn't sit down with nobody. And I got lucky that the chef made me all the food that night. The first night I arrived from the boat, he prepared all the food so I can try it at least. And then boom, I was straight thrown in the thing.
Yeah,
it was extremely funny, but it was like also like this where I consider myself as a professional was that summer when I was thrown in the thing without any kind of information about a restaurant or the clientele or the.
Yeah, I've worked at a restaurant where that vibe goes. So I don't want to jump too far ahead, but I feel like just because of what you said, I want to ask, what do you think somebody needs to succeed as a server in the Hamptons or as a bartender in the Hamptons? Like, what would you advise somebody go to the Hamptons already knowing? Like, what does somebody need to possess?
Like, if you don't know this, you might want to think twice.
As a personality too, like personality.
Yeah, but it's
traits,
different.
too.
You know, people go there. Like Sarah goes there to work and make money. You know,
Yeah.
I went there to enjoy myself. Some people go there just to get fucked up, honestly, to make enough money so they can get fucked up every day and enjoy the rich life without spending $1. So there's a lot of different things that's going to bring you there, you know? It really is this. So it's whatever you want it to be, you know?
Past Jeremy, by the way.
Huh?
Past Jeremy.
Absolutely.
Past Jeremy.
Hypothetical Jeremy. Hypothetical
When was the
Jeremy.
last time I went out for drinks after work, huh? Exactly.
Hypothetical Jeremy.
But yeah, it's really... some people are not going to be the best, you know. It's not you cannot say all the best servers go to the Hamptons. We have some fuck ups going to the Hamptons. Like really, when I say fuck up, big fuck ups, you know. But it's place for everybody, really. And the good thing is the balance of everything. You know, you're gonna have a.
Well, what I would add to what he just said is it's true in part, but usually those people don't make it to the second season.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you do make it the first season and you come back, then things change because the first year is also a little bit of like Pinocchio when he goes in. How do you call it? Like, like it's that kind of experience, like the first year. But then you're gonna have to get your game together.
Yeah, so people
like
burn
if you wanna
themselves
go
in a
back.
year, you know, that's not sure they will never go back, but they had a year of their life, I want to say, you know. But it is a balance between really enjoying yourself
Yeah.
and still working. Make it enough of the job that you can come back years after years.
As long as you do your job, I don't care what else you do.
7 years in a
Yeah.
row. I'm surprised how they make me come that long.
So because you're European, so I have to give you percentages. 0% to 100%. How much of a shit show is working in the Hamptons?
Again, it's whatever you allow yourself.
In general.
To be.
In general.
For me, it was a
Average.
50% shit show.
50% shit show.
Yeah.
What do you say?
50% shit show.
I mean, not for me. I feel like I went for different reasons as you went. Like I wasn't looking for the party, but just to grind and make some money.
Yeah.
She hated the party.
I did. So I would say
You didn't like the party?
No, not so much. I would like
She lived in
join
our house,
sometime.
so
It was
was
in my
tough for
house.
her.
They wouldn't let me sleep. I would say for me, professionally, it might be a shit show when you just get there. But then the cool thing about at least where I work is that July 4th hit. If you make it, you become a family after that.
I see.
And if you don't, the people that don't make it, they'll make the 4th of July,
Cut off.
mark.
Yeah.
They're out.
They get weeded
so
out.
it's like obviously you need to have a lot of experience to work there, but the supporting staff comes with not much experience. A lot of J1s, they maybe never work in restaurant, so you have to teach them everything, and it's beautiful to see them going from 0 to 100 like
Right.
sometime, and after that 4th of July is kind of not a shit show anymore,
I
It
see.
kind of like start like,
Yeah.
flow.
And by
on the
J1,
right
you mean
direction.
like the work visa?
Work
People that
visa,
come.
yes.
Yeah, we had a lot of J1s.
A lot of J1s
A lot of
because,
J1s.
as you said before, because of the supporting staff, a lot of people don't want to leave their job in the city, to just come there for 5 months,
Yeah.
and then going and have to look for another job again.
It's a functional shit show. That's what it is.
A functional shit
It's a
show.
functional
A fun-
shit show.
yeah.
You're going to do the job, but
Let's move it into transportation and lodging. Where do I stay? Do I have to pay for that?
Oh, she had
Is that provided
Yeah.
sometimes? What about transportation? How
Do
do
you
I
sign-
get
do you
from point A
sign
to point
contracts
B?
to
pay your rent.
Do you sign contracts to work in the Hamptons?
Like a worker, yeah, you sign like a regular like a W2 thing. That
W2 contract,
Yeah. You do pay your rent. So most of the place you're gonna work, you pay rent, not a high rent. Sometimes actually high rent for what it is, because we were lucky to stay in a beautiful house, but most of the employees of the island, they stay at the cabins, which is little cabins, like maybe 12 cabins with bunk beds, like jail cells inside, like a small kit, like nasty shower, nasty kitchen, nasty everything.
I
in
went back to
cabins,
cabins,
You went back
but
to-
I got a nice cabin.
Yeah, but you're small, for you, it's for everybody matter,
No, I got a nice cabin for myself, so.
But we get
mansion.
lucky, but yeah, so you pay your rent. When you're smart, you negotiate a rent. And then with transportation, it's the funniest thing. It's this little van. So one guy is hired, a J1 usually. He's just a driver for the season and just picks up people from all the location on the island and drops you to work. Then during your break, he takes you back and then picks you up. But that van, sometimes, like, thank God, then I got a car and I stopped doing the van. But van was fantastic. When you finish a shift, everybody's banging on the ceiling. Everybody's moving this way. People lighting joints in the back. Girls, like crazy stories in the van for only those like little 8 minutes to take you from one point to another. But the van is provided, only to go to work and from work. So if you have to go buy some food, you have only one IGA, the supermarket on the island. If you have to walk, take a caddy or something and walk 20 minutes to go buy food. Unless you buy a bicycle, you're smart and do something. She had a Volkswagen van that was
I did.
amazing. One of
I
those
did.
little
Nice.
hippie vans.
So your meals you also provide for yourself, or
No,
is there
meals.
family
It's,
meal?
as-
What's up?
when you work, you eat at a restaurant. You have family meal in the morning and then family meal at 4:00. Dinner, it's up to you. But
Yeah.
usually, you finish at 1 in the morning. You're already drunk. You don't eat.
You don't eat.
I know you were gonna go there. I was like, you probably take one of those guest dishes that they don't touch. You're probably gonna go there. I know.
Come on, man. Everybody does that shit. You've never
Exactly.
eaten. You never eaten off of a guest plate. Come on, man.
Back in the days, I done it. Like
So you have done it?
I did it when I was in Italy and I was
did it
working at a
yesterday.
pizzeria.
I did it. I did it this
No,
morning.
I don't do that. I don't do that
I wasn't even
anymore.
working. I just walked
No.
past the restaurant. I'm like, that looks good. Let me get a piece of that.
Don't
Now,
do
what's
that
a
anymore.
what's
We
a
all do
typical
this shit,
day
man.
look like? Start with you since you were fresh out of there. What's a typical day look like? You're waking up, going to work.
Well, I would say it's different like between the beginning of the season and the end of the season because when you're like fresh, like in the beginning you're fresh. This year for the first time I went to a gym. I found out there was a gym in the island. Yeah, so I would wake up, go to the gym a little bit. You go for a walk, enjoy the beach a little bit, and then you get to work. Usually it's like 10 or 11 a.m. It's like usually double shift always.
Yeah.
So
Do you
go
always
for
work
lunch.
doubles?
You always work lunch and dinner unless it's like a a slow weekday.
Or it rains, or
But but normally you work lunch and dinner, because for the bar, for example, we have a smaller team, so there is only 2 full-time bartenders, so we do work during the week. We do lunch and dinner, or maybe you like take a long break in between. So you go to work like around 11, you work your lunch service. During the week, you get a little bit of break, and it's beautiful because you can just jump in the ocean, then get a shower, go back to work, and you're fresh for dinner service. And you don't finish that late. You finish, I would say, like midnight. It depends. It's changed a little bit this year, but I would say when the last table leave, usually last table is like around 9:30, 10.
And do you work all 7 days of the week?
No, you work 5 days. I want to say things change too.
Because when I started, it was 6-7 days in a row.
When he was there,
But now they
even
don't do
all
the
that
overtime.
party and the like crazy things change a little bit.
Yeah.
Once, because we're getting older, obviously, and there is like new kids and new generation, and they're not as we were when we had
Right.
their age,
Yeah.
So things change, and now there is a little bit more control on hours too. So before we would easily work 80 hours a
Yeah.
week.
That's what I heard.
Now
Crazy
it doesn't.
dollars.
Now it doesn't
In a
anymore
row.
because also from the company perspective, they need to make money in such a short time.
Yeah.
So they're cutting all the edge that they can. So we don't do that many overtimes anymore.
There's more control with labor now.
Yeah, there is more control. August heat, you can't really control it. You're gonna end up doing overtimes, but we're trying to control it. They're trying to control it.
That's the
like,
busiest
from,
month, August? Out of
well,
all?
from July 4th, but then August is like busy every day.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to say like something you said before, because people go in the Hamptons and they think that they will find our experience everywhere. Not all places are like that. Not all places offer transportation. Not all places offer housing. So if somebody's interested in going to Hamptons, that's definitely something they should look at it.
Right.
Like they should ask, are you offering housing?
Right.
What's the housing situation? Is there transportation? Because a lot of places they don't.
How early should you just start getting that information
As
and
early
finding
as
it out?
possible.
You said February, March.
Like if
Yeah.
I want to go,
February.
like if I want to go 2024, I say I want to go to Hamptons this
Yeah.
year, slow season.
I would say
this.
February.
February, I should start looking into
Because
it.
January might be a little bit early, because a lot of managers are not year-round salary on a salary, so they don't start working that early.
Yeah.
But February, I would start knocking at doors and
Yeah.
asking around.
And like you said, know what are the conditions of work, because it's very, like you said,
Yeah,
very
because
different depending on what
you might
place
be
you work.
working in Montauk. For example, Montauk, there is a high demand because there's a lot of restaurants there now, and a lot of people and more young people go there in the weekends. So there is a lot of work, but there is not an accommodation.
Right.
So that's
Now-
a big problem.
Oh, you want to throw your day in there? I should.
So
Let me
to tell you
my
how
apologies. Go ahead.
a functional shit show it is, and I was telling this to Sarah on the way. My second season and third season, I was scheduled every day at 10 o'clock in the morning. For 2 years, I came at 11:45 for the pre-shift meeting. For 2 years, I never came at 10 o'clock. At the end of the season, the third year, one of our GM comes and is like, Jeremy, what time are you supposed to be here? I'm like, 10 o'clock. He's like, yeah, it's 11:40. Are you late? I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, yeah. Wait, when I think about it, yesterday too. I'm like, yeah. He's like, it's been a while. I'm like, 2 years. And he stops and he looks at me. I look at him. I'm like, you understand? It's on you though. And he's like, yeah, it's on me. And then he just walks out. He just walks away because how? You're going to be a manager. You're not going to see
Right.
that I'm late for
Right,
2
right.
years for an hour and 45 minutes every day.
Right.
So I never got in trouble. They're just like, oh yeah, it's
Did
my
you
fault.
continue to come late after that conversation?
Absolutely. I just
did any
trained
of-
my essay to open the restaurant for me.
That's perfect.
And you would pay him for it, so he would be okay with it.
I would not pay him. He would just get more hours. So he was happy, He was a
It's
early bird
it's
anyway.
really not like this
So,
anymore.
I mean, not anymore, but even like I said, I've never worked there, but I only have one personal experience where I met somebody and they said, oh, listen, you want to work in the Hamptons? And of course, I've heard about how hard it is that you work, but you make a lot of money. So I was like, yeah, sure, why not? So I had just gotten like my level 1 intro
certification?
SOM certification. And the guy goes, oh, we're looking for a sommelier for the summer. And I was very honest because a lot of people would be like, oh, yeah, I'm certified, level 2, whatever. I was like, listen, I just got my entry. Like I'm above average with wine, but I'm not there yet. And he was like, oh, you'll be okay. It's fine. Yeah. So then 2 weeks later, I have a fucking Zoom like interview. I got fucking underwear and I got a shirt with a tie on. Like I'm sitting on my bed like this with like the director of operations for the restaurant. And he's asking me all these fucking questions about wine. And I'm like, dude, I don't know, man. I was like, did he not tell you that I'm like basic? He was like, I mean, he told me something, but honestly, this interview, I don't understand. Like, you should be more. I was like, dude, I don't know. So, like, my picture of the Hamptons working there is a complete shit show.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, you guys know different, right? But that's my perception of the Hamptons. Like, I wanted to work there, but after that interview, I was like, I don't think it's for me.
And you could have, because
Do you think that you could if you did nowadays?
Today?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Today. I mean,
all you sell is Magnum
just-
Rosé.
just
All
for
you
fun.
sell is rosé.
Yeah, basically, that's what I heard.
You don't sell champagne. You don't sell red wine so much. You sell rosé.
A lot of
all
rosé,
fucking day.
a lot of rosé,
You
yeah.
sell Whispering Angel. You said fucking Domaine Hot, and you know, and
Yeah.
and then
I haven't
or
seen a
restaurant
bottle.
rosé
When
as
was the
well.
last time in Miami that you sold a bottle of rosé to a table?
I don't.
Not
know.
a lot though.
Wow,
That's true.
not a
I'm
lot.
kind of new in Miami,
And if
but
it is,
I
it's
never
probably sparkling.
really-
In the restaurant we work, we have one glass of rosé.
Still rosé. And when was the last time somebody ordered a glass of rosé?
It's very rare.
Yo, they don't drink rosé here, man.
No.
They do over there. And
They
you
do,
know,
I bet
we
you
have
they
a
do.
famous drink. It's called the Frozen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, frozen.
Yeah.
Frozen is
Yes.
delicious.
I think we were first.
What?
Everybody has a frozen.
Frozen is
glass.
delicious.
That's how you receive gas. You like rosé.
Yeah.
Have you had a glass of frozen?
What is your
Have you
favorite
had a
drink?
glass of frozen?
Frosé?
You get a
fucking-
brain freeze right away, but
It's
it's really
fucking
worth it.
delicious.
It is so worth it.
Frozen is delicious. I don't care what they say about it. It's delicious.
So who goes there? Who eats there? Who hangs out in the Hamptons?
Rich people. Rich people. Now, when you say rich people, so most of the people from the Hamptons are New Yorkers. I want to say that 80% of the people from they're rich New Yorkers. And it's their country house, their weekend house, their summer house.
Yeah.
Now, the funny thing with the guests that we're gonna have, and especially on that beautiful island, it's the same guests that in the city, they're gonna bitch at you for having 2 grains of salt too much on the steak, or you place the fork not completely straight, or the napkin was not folded properly. Over there, when I say you drop the fork, you pick it up, you blew it, you put it back, she's gonna be like, thank you so much. Or you're gonna say, I'm so sorry, madam, you ordered a branzino, this is a chicken. She's gonna be like, hey, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's crazy. The people over there, it's their
They are
happy
like-
place. They're
yeah.
drunk, the kids are on the beach. They don't have to think about anything besides getting really fucked up. And this is really what they do. They don't care about anything. You can make huge mistake, and you're gonna get away with it. Where you make half of that mistake in the wintertime in New York, you get killed.
Yeah.
So it's so funny to see the same people that have high standard and are very picky about everything. Over there, they don't give a damn. Honestly, they don't.
Really?
It's fantastic.
Yes, one of the things I read when doing research for this show, that the servers over there, sometimes they're looking at guests and they say to themselves, oh, these people are like 10. And then they have to remind themselves, some people, not us, are here to relax.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I can see
I-
how
I-
somebody who's like in New York going
I've heard
crazy.
that before.
Yeah.
They rent those big houses, and all they do is they sit on
Yeah.
one of those
They're
chairs and
vacation,
just
you
look at
know?
the water and relax all day. No
Drinking
work.
frosé.
That's it.
Just chilling.
And they don't cook. They don't cook.
No, they can't.
just
They
why
can't
would they?
go to a restaurant every day.
they go to a restaurant every day. That's all they do. That's all.
And I
that's
think that
relaxing.
the place again we work is probably the place in Hampton where we can the most let it go, because there's no crime really on the island. Because if somebody gets a house broken into, they just check the ferries on the north side and the south. You cannot leave the island without the ferry. So there's no such thing as kids coming to make trouble. If it is, it's ours kids.
Right.
It's our restaurant kids that are gonna make something stupid.
Yeah.
But honestly, there's no crime on the island. There's no so. You can let the kids go wherever they want. Nobody's gonna abduct them on the island. One call to the ferry, they block the ferries. They filter every car. So it's really even more stress-free than other places.
Since you went in there, I guess guests are not often that demanding there. Well, can you give me maybe perhaps some examples of overly demanding guests or things that they're like, never I thought that someone would complain about that.
I remember one of my assistant for all those years, or good cafe boy. One day he disappeared from the floor, and then he called me. I was there. I covered him. It's such a shit show that I was able to make sure that nobody knows he's not here. Call him. Where are you in New York? I'm like, what happened? He's like, this guest just was on me to drive him to New York, and then he offered me $2,000 to drive him to New York.
Hell yeah.
It's a 2-hour drive. So he's like, I'm so sorry, I just left. I drive him. Sometimes you cannot say no. Some people are very, rich and demanding, and they're going to pay you
$500
for
an
the
hour,
thing,
bro. $500 an hour.
The guy
Total
left.
4
So
hours.
What is the weirdest demand that you have gotten by a guest like that? Like, I'll offer you X amount of money if
Besides
you
drugs,
do this for
like,
me.
because most of them is like,
Drugs.
can you find me
Yeah,
drugs?
honestly,
Girls sometimes.
Yeah.
But
Very similar to Miami
I
so
am
far.
blanking out right now.
Very
like
similar to
crazy.
Miami so far.
yeah, it's drugs, girls.
Yeah.
And also, a lot of people, they ask, that was crazy. We did brought a lot of guests in our house. or shitty, like fucking housing things. We bought a lot of people. They want to keep partying, and this is the thing. The ferry leaves at 12:30. So when the ferry leaves, if you're not on that ferry, you have to sleep.
You're
on the
staying in
beach.
somebody's bed.
Survival, baby.
That was the best thing. Ladies, listen. You want to stay? Have a California king size bed. That's the only thing. We're gonna have to squeeze a little bit of 4 of us, but you can stay in my house. How many times we bought people house, let them sleep in our house, and had crazy parties with them because
Not
they want
you.
to stay on the island.
Not you, obviously.
No.
No. Pass you.
Not
Yeah,
obviously.
pass me,
We say it all the time on the show. You want to stay?
You
gotta
gotta
pay.
That's the way it works, dude.
It's the way of the
That's the way it
world.
works.
baby.
Some people are really desperate to stay on the island overnight, and they will accept anything really.
Would you say that the trends or the clientele has changed over the years?
It has. It has
What
a
kind of
lot.
change have you seen?
I mean,
More cheaper,
there's-
more expensive,
I would
people that want to, show off.
I would say we are getting like a little bit of a younger crowd now. I don't want to say necessarily cheap. There is a little bit of both.
Yeah.
There is a lot of edge fund kids now. So they live off the money of their parents.
Right.
So they are not cheap, but there is a lot of young kids as well.
A
I
lot of
would say.
Instagram going on.
Yeah. Yes and no, because for example, the restaurant where I work, we have different atmosphere in the same place. So there is an area where it's like, VIP sitting, and those are like our regulars. And then we have a party area, which is by the DJ. So it's two completely different.
How many
clientele.
seats? How many seats approximately in your restaurant?
I would say 300 for restaurant, or a little bit more.
I would say because we do 500 covers, on the lunch we turn twice really, so I would say 250 to 300.
250,
yeah.
but then we have all the area
yeah,
of...
sitting, and then you can do a lot more
Then
because
there
of
is
the wine
like an
garden.
area for wine garden and...
So it's not small.
breezeway.
It's pretty big.
No, it's big.
It's pretty big.
Servers on the floor at all time is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's like 8 servers plus 3 cocktail runners. So it's not small.
No, it's pretty big. But I would say we still have the same clientele as restaurant-wise. And on the party side, they are getting younger. But I think that is also normal,
Yeah, I think so. That trend is
it's-
universal.
It is what it is, like you're getting older, you want to have your nice dinner, and then you go home. You're not
Yeah.
going to go dance by the DJ. Although, like, we still get these people on Sundays that they want to have party, the
Yeah.
daytime party, and they go dance by the DJ.
But because they used to, back in the early in the season, they used to let the staff party with the guests every
Yeah.
single day.
Yeah.
So it was like we would finish our shift, and then our guests that loved us would buy us a bottle of champagne, whatever, rosé. We would dance on those tables until 5 in the morning every single day. And then after 4 seasons, they cut that
Yeah,
shit.
those
And they were
days-
like, only
those
on the
days are
weekend
gone.
you can stay. Not on the weekend, only on Sunday night you can stay. In the weekdays, but Friday, Saturday, everybody goes home when you clock
I also
out.
think like the generation change, because what we could handle, the new generation does not really handle it. You
Right.
know, I feel like you go there and you really work long hours. You start it's like 12 hours a day. You know? Back in the days, I wasn't a big party person, but like sometime I did party and other people were partying. They were going to show off to work the day after.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
nothing
yeah, yeah.
happened and no complaints, and you go and work. I had an experience like last summer with an employee that we had. And she was kind of like, complaining about the fact that there was no break. So,
The fuck outta
no-
here.
I know. And we never complain about that. It's
Breaks
Great.
on the restaurant
What?
industry? Nah.
It's like, what do you come in here to work for really work is like 2 months and a half, You want to make those money.
It's gotta
You don't
be
want to
intense.
take days off. You
It's
don't.
gotta be intense.
Yeah, you don't want to like have breaks and take days off. It's, I don't know.
Depends on what you came there for.
Depends on who you're talking
The
to.
guy came 1 hour and 45 minutes late every day. I will work 2 hours,
I
take a
forgot
4-hour
who I
break.
had like next to me.
Drive someone to New
But,
York.
So not to be pessimistic, because if somebody wants to work there and it works for them, I think they should go. It sounds like a good opportunity.
Best years of my life. Best
But
experience of my life.
would you say that the best years of the Hamptons are over?
For me, for the season I went, the first 4 seasons were absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Too much. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, like too much.
Right.
The last 3 seasons were getting more structured, like you said, was the less fun, more money.
Right.
Less fun, more money. Before was more fun, less money. But I'm always a fun guy, so
But again,
You make it
I mean,
happen.
I would say it's because you're also growing. So I mean, I doubt that
that's true.
the young,
That's true.
21-year-olds,
Yeah.
J1s.
No, but you're right.
They're probably there for
the last season. I would
the
not
fun.
show up to those cabin parties, for example. My last 3 years, I went to go home and put Netflix on and just chill. I didn't show up, and also the gap of age became more and more.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna be 40 soon. The kid at 20. I have no business
You got
really
nothing
partying
to-
with
no,
20-year-old
yeah,
kids, you know, and I'm not in my space and I feel weird. So the last years I didn't really care. The one in between was painful because I wanted to have the party, but it was changing a little bit. But then naturally I start to get away from the party and focus more on work.
But in terms of the money, in terms of the clientele, would you say that time is over, or is still like?
It's still
No,
there.
money is still
It's
good.
still
I think they
there,
make
and
great money today-
I
this
feel
year,
like we
actually.
make even more money.
Yeah.
You know, in a way we do. It's different. Before, for example, I speak for the bar. Like before, we were working much harder. We still work harder, but it was so much busy at the bar. You know.
Yeah.
Now I guess the price went up too, so
Everything went up.
You still work a lot,
Yeah.
you know, but we have, for example, more bartenders now. We have more bartenders.
Okay.
You can sell more. You know, it's the money are definitely still there, and in such a short time.
What is a busy day in a restaurant in Hamptons? Is it a lot of guests, or is it guests that stay for long?
We still have to flip our
do you
tables.
often flip tables?
We do. We
still have to
Is
flip
the
the
Hamptons a timed experience restaurant kind of vibe, or is it a restaurant where people sit down and they're there as long as they
It's a
want?
balance, really.
It's a little bit of balance of both. Like, you know, we often have like the books are full, so we do have to turn those tables, but we have other areas where they can enjoy themselves because, you know, we actually like improve the place every year. So we have the wine garden, we have the breezeway where they can have a cocktail, they can dance by the DJ. Then we have a petanque field on the back. There is like a parking lot where we put like a food truck and a crab truck. Like, you know, they can still be there, but they just have to leave the table.
Yeah, but your infrastructure,
You know?
your infrastructure has been designed to flip tables, but not make people.
You have to flip
leave.
a table, but there is
Yeah.
guests that you cannot move.
Yeah, of
There's
course.
VIPs
That's
that
everywhere.
they can
Like
stay
anywhere.
the whole day, and you're not going to tell them
Everywhere.
everything, even though
And he
you're
knows
really
more
suffering.
than,
Right.
He
because
knows
of
more than me about
weight,
that.
yeah.
Definitely.
So let's talk. I want to hear some numbers.
I was going to go.
I
there.
want to hear some numbers. So how much money, if you feel comfortable talking about it, do you think somebody can make if they're smart, if they work hard, if you know, how much money, generally speaking, are we talking about?
So, bar, you're going to talk for the bar? Because,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, I also think it's different where you work because
Right, of
not all
course.
the places are making the money.
Yeah,
there.
yeah. We don't
You
mean
can-
like this is what you're going to make 100%
I could
every
say,
single time.
yeah, I could say myself, you
Yeah.
can clear like 76 a year, and you only really work in 3 months because you go in August, you go in May, but you start being open every day by the end of May, and then you finish after Labor Day. So you really are busy working every day for 2 months, and you're making, you can clear $80,000 a year.
Damn.
I would say
A year or for 3 or 4 months?
I mean,
for the 3-4 months,
when
for the
I
season.
file my taxes, that's what I see because that's another thing. So for the past 8 years, I only worked in the summer. So I didn't really work in the winter. I would enjoy my time off.
here.
Well,
Lucky you.
Yeah, I did
I
it.
mean, hey, would you party while you're there? She would party after. You know?
That's the thing. I was smarter. I was a smarter
Absolutely
kid.
true.
I'm sorry. I was going there to make money, and then I would travel the world for the rest of the year, and it was cheaper for me because you're making a lot of money. So IRS takes a lot of your money, obviously, because you're in next rank. You know.
Yeah, in the next bracket,
But,
yeah.
but then when you file for your taxes, you get a lot of that.
Yeah.
So those money will keep me going for my travel in the winter. And then I could just, you know, go back and work.
Come back in the summer.
Exactly. For the max I made, like if you want to get into details, like it was a busy week. I made before taxes, I made $6,000. Then after taxes.
Gross, you made 6
Yeah,
grand.
40,
gross.
42, 43 after tax, huh?
Oh, no, less, 3,000.
Oh,
Three,
it's like
three,
half.
four, three,
Yeah, they
3,400.
butcher you. You get butchered.
But then you're going to get back. You're going to get back, you know.
So
Give
gross.
us the server side.
Yeah.
I cannot really talk seasonal. I can do weekly. Pretty much, you make between 25 to 35, really weekly all the time.
But you make more now.
in big weekends, less. It also bear in mind, some seasons was a rainy season. You cut your income in half. You cut your income in half because
True.
when it's raining, you have to close half of the restaurant. It's an outside restaurant. So I remember a season where every weekend, actually, apparently season
That was the
weekend
season.
a
That
lot,
was my second season,
It was
I think.
raining every weekend. So we would get cuts on a Saturday, double. There's no space for you to work. But yeah, the money is good.
It's still good.
It's still good now for the hourly, because back in the days, if you work 60 hours for 2,500, it's almost not a good deal.
Yeah.
See what I mean? But now when I saw one of our common friends show me how much he made, he made really good money. He made like pretty much 3K every week.
You make about
working
3K every
like
week, yeah.
40 hours maybe. So it's good. It's good money, but really, and this is very important, it's not so much about the money you make. It's about where you work and how you're going to spend it. Because we were so lucky that we work on Shelter Island, where after midnight, there's not one business that's open. There's no bar to go to. You cannot buy a bottle of water, So the money you would work for every day, you would save the whole thing after the season.
Right.
My friend that works in Montauk or in Southampton, where you have the clubs, the bars open all night long.
Right.
You would work, you finish work, you go spend $400 a night every night in the
for
club
sure.
and the things. So they would make good money and come back with $5,000. On
Yeah.
Shelter Island, you come back with 80% of the money you made because you don't have time or space or places to spend your money.
Right.
It's great.
It also is important to keep your mindset like, you're going there to save money.
Right.
You don't want to. For example, in the beginning of the season, I had to go and have breakfast somewhere, and I spent $70 or more for breakfast. So it was like 2 bagels and 2 coffee.
No.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I do have breakfast in my house. I try not to spend money out. I go out sometime,
Right.
but you have to keep like a saving
Yeah.
mindset.
But the great thing,
you
again,
know?
because of the ferry being off and
Right.
there's no way you can, there's one distributor of cans, at the ferry station. That's the only thing. You can spend $4 to buy 4 cans of Coke. That's it. There's not one place where you can spend money after work, which is great.
How do the prices vary around the Hamptons? For you to go to any restaurant and have breakfast, lunch, or dinner, what's like the price per average on a guest?
Expensive,
It is. I mean, I would
Because
say
that you had breakfast for $70.
Yeah.
Is that like the average there?
Yeah,
Are they
lunch.
usually expensive?
Like we have this place on the island. It's kind of a grocery store, which is called it's a French lady that does it. That's amazing food. But you buy your crab cake at $40, and it's a crab cake this size to go, not on premises, not a restaurant. It's a to-go place. There's picnic tables outside and everything. You go there for lunch. You buy your croque monsieur at $24. Your tuna salad at $32, and you're going to spend $100 for one salad, one croque monsieur, and 2 cokes. And dinner, we live in Miami, so dinner are expensive here too. So same price for the dinner, I would say.
Yeah.
But you turn like for dinner at $200 a head. Lunch at $70, $80 a head, and breakfast, $35, $40 a head, easy.
Yeah.
And what are the common types of cuisine in the Hamptons? Is there all kinds of cuisine there, or
You have
is it
more and
very
more now, but-
seafood driven?
There's some now,
Yeah.
but mostly I would say Mediterranean,
Yeah,
French,
Mediterranean,
Italian,
French American,
yeah.
but not so
Is there
international.
anywhere you go? Is it like fresh oysters and lobsters?
Coastal
There's
shit.
a lot
What
of,
do the
a lot of
rich and the
seafood.
famous like
A lot
to
of
eat
oysters.
in their fun
Yeah.
island?
Lot
There's
of
like
lot of lobster.
local oysters, a lot of seafood. Get a lot of that. Yeah, definitely.
That's
A
what you
lot of,
commonly
like,
get
What's the
around.
bay that we
the-
work that had the oyster from?
Orient Point.
No, the name
No.
of the bay itself. Like we would get a
Peconic.
Peconic, yeah, we have
Peconic
Peconic oysters from
oysters, then
Peconic
there's
Bay where we
Orient
work.
Point.
A lot of lobster rolls, a lot of branzinos.
I was about to say, there's a lot of lobster rolls down
Yeah.
there.
A lot of
Lot of
specials
lobster
with
rolls.
lobsters,
Fluke ceviche.
Yeah, fluke ceviche.
Local seafood.
Octopus, yeah, of course.
I guess the sizes of the
Octopus or
restaurants all vary as well.
Octopus.
It does.
I'm
it
sure that
does.
there's small restaurants, super large restaurants, like all kinds of
There's all
restaurants.
size, but
There is different size. Like if you're on a waterfront, they tend to be bigger. But then there is also smaller places. And what I see in the years now, there is a lot of more restaurateur from New York that they open a place there in the summer. So they're trying to be. There's this pizza place I love. There's in Monta. It's been in a Bushwick for so long. So now they open there, and it's the same concept. So there is more things, now, even for like people like us. They
Right.
want to go out.
And then
after
some of the
work.
towns, like Southampton, has like the Strip. Has a like little street with all different kind of cafes and cute little restaurants, and they have also this thing of village feeling where you have this main
Yeah.
street America where you're gonna have this little coffee shop and then this little
It's cute.
pizza place. Yeah, it's very
It's
cute.
very cute, very
But she's
clean.
right. The big place or on the waterfront and on Shelter Island we don't have that many small restaurants. Actually, it's pretty much like Salt is big. Chiquet is
Yeah.
It's also hotels most of the time.
What do you hate about the Hamptons?
She hates having us as neighbors and partying all night.
Yeah.
I would say the most difficult part is the
Yeah.
housing.
The
Is
housing.
the housing, yeah.
Yeah.
So I suffered through the housing for many, many, many years.
Yeah.
Now I've been there, as I said, 8 seasons. So I get a little bit of seniority.
Of course.
The last 2 years were good for me because I got the little house. I picked my roommate, and I was living with my husband, which was the resident DJ. So that was great for me.
That sounds nice.
But before that, not so good.
Not so good.
So for me, I mean, if you're younger, people have fun and it's like summer camp, as he said. But for me, that was the most difficult part to overcome.
So what
having
about
to
you?
not have my own space.
That sounds terrible for anybody. But what about loves? Like, what are the things you love about working in the Hamptons?
I I mean, I love the way that you become a family right there. Like it's like you click. You can't find that any. I couldn't find that anywhere else.
Not only the staff, you become familiar with the island people.
With the island
like,
people, with the
they
customer.
see you every season, so you go say hi to the chief of police when you go there.
Yeah.
Like you know every single
It's
person.
like a family feeling. You know, I come from a small village and I moved to New York, and I could never go back to the small village. But where I work in the Hamptons, it gives me the right balance between the two. So I get that small town feelings, but
Right.
I'm still in a city.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
I love the fact that I see the ocean. I work outdoor. I work outdoor. I work during the day. I see the sunset every day. And on my break, when I get one, even it would be like 20 minutes, I can just jump in the ocean and come back, and I'm refreshed. I don't have to commute to work. I don't have to, dress up, put makeup on. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful in that way. And then obviously the paycheck is a fat one.
Let's be honest,
That also,
Let's
that's
be
what
honest
keeps
here.
you also going back, obviously,
What I loved the most, was the island itself. Like, this place is so magical, honestly.
It
It's
is.
like, so you have to know that Shelter Island is a place where Peter Pan was written. And it's,
Was
you
it?
have, no, Westmoreland. That's where they wrote Peter Pan. And Peter Pan is a kid that never wants to grow up. And you feel this of the same people, even those 50, 60-year-old people over there. Like we say, they're super cool. They don't want to grow up. They want to have a good time.
So
but you do have
romantic.
this magical feeling about staying young and enjoying it fully to the experience. When the first ferry I take to the season, to the island, I'm like a dog. My tail is wagging, and I'm like, I see the coast coming to me, and I get so excited. And on the same way, when I leave, the last ferry I take out, it's like tears almost falling
It's
on my
sad,
eyes.
yeah.
It's super sad. You look the island falling away, and then you're like, oh, fuck, another season. That was amazing. You
get
different
that feeling,
stories.
That feeling of you get there, you feel like you're going home.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every year that I go back and I start getting closer to the ferry, and then I go on the
Yeah.
ferry, I feel like I'm going home.
You own
I-
the island very fast,
Yeah.
It's yours too. It's yours as much as those people that has like $10 million house, if not more, because you actually do even more things and go
Yeah.
to more places.
Well, I mean, maybe not so much as a $10 million house, but yeah, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
When it comes to Shelter Island, if somebody, I live in, me too. I'm a Shelter Island resident as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you basically are.
No.
What about hates? What do you dislike most about working in the Hamptons?
I cannot say lodging because again, I was lucky. I had this room, the same room for all the seasons, and it was the biggest room in the whole property, probably, and the biggest bed in the whole property.
The biggest bed, the biggest room.
That
Talking about
was
the
pretty
biggest
big.
bed, the biggest
I believe
we're talking about
My-
to the
my-
biggest diva of the season here
biggest
too as
one, the
well.
biggest
My bed was pretty big too. I just had the worst neighbor.
Yeah, there we
Remember,
go.
we used to go- I used to go
You
2 weeks before so I can secure again this spot.
So
Hates,
the earlier you go, the better you get.
Yes.
really not
None.
much. Nah, when I
Nothing.
think about it, it's
Nothing that you experienced that you were like, I wish this was different.
no, because even the weird experience was still good experience at the end. There's still stories to
They
tell.
make for the best stories.
Yeah, honestly, no,
Yes.
I loved it. I won't go back the same way I left New York. I won't go back neither. But that was the best summers of my life. Honestly, some of the best summers of my life.
Are you going back this year?
It remains to be seen, but it's hard not to.
Right.
It's hard not to. I've been there for so long, and I feel like it's hard to leave. The connection also that you build, along the years. I feel like not only the people that you work with, that you become family with, but also the doors that can open.
Of course.
you know?
Where else would you say, other than the Hamptons, that you can make such good money in the low season?
Oh, Saint-Tropez, Mykonos, this kind of rich destination for rich people.
In the US, I would say
In general, in the world,
West Palm,
in the US, where
West Palm
Yeah,
Beach,
maybe
because they're
West
the same
Palm.
clientele. Same
Yeah.
clientele goes to West Palm Beach.
But they're
go
going to be
to
in the winter
Aspen.
though in West Palm, not so much in the summer. Summertime,
Summertime.
I don't see anything else in the Hamptons really. That's
Summertime.
Follow the money, baby.
Yeah.
Follow the money.
Summertime, yeah.
Sorry, just to go back, because you said it opens
Go
a
ahead.
lot of doors. True, you meet crazy people with crazy situation in their life that can always offer you something better. But also you get invited by those people. So you end up going to those mansions, the $10 million man. We partying in those mansions. We got invited on crazy boats. We got, like, you partake a little bit in their life as well. You get invited, you get a cook, a chef that's going to cook for you. Even the owner of the restaurant, the resort, invited us in his house a couple of times. People take off their clothes and shit. It's
I was talking about different doors.
it's-
I almost forgot to
I was
ask.
talking-
What do you do? What do you do for fun on the island? And obviously
you dance a lot. You dance a lot. There's always music playing here and there. You party a lot of barbecues,
You
a
dance
lot
a
of
lot.
naked parties, I have to say.
That you only saw Because you didn't take part in them.
From far.
Very
to
far.
my Googles, like
Yeah.
a creep.
Yeah, I know.
But you do get invited in all those places. And one other thing I want to say, once you say go back next season, if you get a winter job that allows you to leave 4 or 5 months, then go for it. This is the best. For me, I was lucky enough that in New York, I had a job that was hiring me in the winter. And when the season slows for New York, they were happy to let me go, knowing I was going to come back to them. So then, if you have those two situations that let you go,
that's
it's
perfect.
amazing. It's amazing.
That's a win-win.
I couldn't go now because the job that I'm working right now would not probably hire me back. They say if you leave, you leave. You know, you have to go for the whole process when you come back. So that's why I don't want to quit it. But if you have a job that says, okay, I hire you 4 months in the winter and the other 4 months in the summer, not only you do this, but you have 2 months. Every 4 months, you have 2 months off in between the seasons where you have money and you can go see your family back. And so that's, it's an amazing situation. That's on the long run because, you grow up, you have to, but, until you don't have a kid or something like this, go for it. Go for it anytime, bro.
Now, I'm going to close it with this one. What do you know now that you wish you knew before as a server?
Be it here or for your experiences in the Hamptons.
Correct.
You go first.
Maybe I would have partied a little bit less if I knew how much money I could have made. Really, like
How much money you could have saved.
exactly,
that's a good
exactly,
point.
exactly. I enjoyed the island a lot, too much for sure. Not a regret at all. On the opposite, it was amazing. But yeah, I could have made a little bit of money if I had been a little bit more serious. It's not something that I know that I don't know now, but it's kind of I could have pushed myself a little bit more to work a little bit more, not to.
Right.
But at the same time, you're on this fucking island. Just enjoy it, man.
I think
It's
that's
just
fine, man.
beautiful.
Enjoy life, man.
That's
Those
fine.
stories will last forever.
And one thing, if to know, go there as soon as possible before the rest of the crew comes, so you can secure again good section, good housing, good things. And leave last because there's nobody on the island in September, so the island is yours even more
It's the best
than the
in
other one. It's
September.
amazing. When people leave, there's no more like 1,000 people on the beach, and the beach is yours.
Yeah. I'd say something like to what you said as well. Like I would start investing my money in a better way because I start making so much money so early that I would just
Of course.
spend it all. I wasn't partying, but in the winter I would just like travel the world and like go on all those places, and it was amazing. I probably would do it all over again.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, but like right now I'm more in a mindset.
But perhaps a
I
little
would-
bit more conscious, just a little bit.
it's like also what I was saying before about the doors that they open. You can meet people that can really open doors for you. There's a lot of people there that, I don't know, I found like I became friends with some customer. Like I ask, what are you doing for a living? And they say, I don't work.
Right.
And they don't tell you what they're doing. I was like, what are you doing? Like all these years trying to figure out how to become rich,
Right.
I wish I used those years to like think about how do I become rich like that, And there is a lot of invested in real estate. I think a lot of people like invest. I don't know. I just would try to like figure that out before.
I think it's important to say to yourself that it's time for me to enjoy and it's time for me to live life. There's a time and place for that. I think as long as you're not burning, as long as you adequately and appropriately burn phases, you don't want to be the fucking 50-year-old guy in the club, still trying to hit on fucking 20-year-old girls, But if you're 20 in the club, go to the club. So if you're working hard, I think you should be allowed to party hard, which is okay. I mean, it's simple looking back and saying, oh, I should have saved money. I should have invested in this. But there was no way to know. There was no way to know. I think it's our responsibility maybe to help coach the generations that come after us, or maybe somebody we care about who's a lot younger. Then it's our responsibility to aid them with that information. But otherwise, bro, just enjoy. Who gives a shit? What it is what it is. I mean, that sounds amazing. I almost wish I had gotten the job because I think knowing my personality, I would have had a great time.
Oh, you would have loved
I would have
it.
had a great time.
Yeah, I'm
loved
like,
it.
But whatever, it is
at
what
this
it
point, I
is.
feel like that. I'm like, damn, I should have gone. Because now I'll probably be like you. I'll be like, I don't want to share my space.
Yeah,
It's
now-
like,
now
I don't
I
want
see it.
to.
Now
That's
I
what
see
you
it.
want now, bro.
I don't exactly. I don't want to listen to this 20-year-olds partying all night. It's not what I want.
Yeah.
But,
But I
again,
was,
it's
but
magical.
It's still something that anyone should consider. Right now, ask yourself, how bad was my slow season this year? And am I willing to take that hit again next year?
Yeah.
This is one of the many opportunities that you have, especially now that you have the time to do the research, now that you heard some of the data that they have shared with you, and perhaps consider that the Hamptons or any other places could be a great opportunity for you to make some money while you're in the low season. So write your pros, write your cons, and also make sure that you have your plan. Ask yourself, Do I want to go there to save money? Do I want to go there and party and enjoy this island, and never grow up? That's up to you. Make the decision and take the leap. And that's our show. Once more, I want to say thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Sarah Bay, for
Thank
joining
you,
us
guys.
tonight.
Thanks for coming, guys.
I
Thank
really
you for having
appreciate
us.
it. Also, let us know now in the comments, where else could you make such money in the low season? Also, if you worked in the Hamptons, share your stories with us. Let's start a conversation below. Thank you for listening,
Don't forget to tip.
and we look forward to hosting you again real soon.
Take care, everybody.
Don't forget to like, share, subscribe.